Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the 2019 United States Grand Prix Recap. Very pleased to be joined after down in the southern to Texas. And there ain't nothing more Texas than Shaker right now, who is wearing a beautiful cowboy hat.
Thank you. I got the bowl on to represent Max coming in podium.
It's the Longhorn.
Also the Longhorn.
Hook 'em, is that it?
Hook 'em horns.
Or lock 'em?
No, Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em
Okay.
horns
There we go.
for the Texas Longhorns and Matthew McConaughey.
I was going to say, you saw it on the broadcast
That's my
from
boy.
Matthew McConaughey.
That's my boy. And Daniel Ricciardo's helmet might be my favorite helmet design ever.
Beautiful.
One, because I'm a Texas Longhorns fan, and two, because it's Daniel
Are you
Rick.
really?
I am.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I like the Longhorns. Hook 'em horns. Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, Daniel Ricciardo's helmet. Daniel Ricciardo, known for amazing helmets this season, brought one more forward, and not just
What a
a tribute
beauty.
to the Texas Longhorns, but made it look like a football helmet.
No,
It had all the details.
Unbelievable. Like,
Beautiful.
one of the nicest helmets I've ever seen.
I love it. Daniel Kvyat must be really pissed off that how many has Ricciardo switched now?
Yeah, and
he wasn't allowed.
It's really dumb. Poor
yeah.
Danny.
Stupid rule anyway that they have that going, but a lot of great stuff down in Texas this weekend, and like you mentioned, Matthew McConaughey. It was funny that in the post-race show, I was talking to you guys about this, that they couldn't find any other important people from F1 to talk about the importance of Lewis Hamilton. I mean, this is a significant moment in our sport, right? Lewis Hamilton clinches his 6th title. He's one away from Michael Schumacher. Let's talk to Will.i.am to know what it means to us.
Well, maybe he's gonna make the Black Eyed Peas or make a song about Lewis Hamilton called 6.
Well, maybe Lewis Hamilton made a song with the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, he did make one with Christina
This is-
Aguilera.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Allegedly. They don't know if it's him 100%, but
Oh.
it sounds like him.
That's something. That is something. Someone dig that up and send to us.
But didn't you just find it weird? It was like they talked to Toto Wolff, they talked to Lewis's dad, but I mean, they could have talked to maybe James Allison or another Mercedes team member, or just the thoughts of Paul DiResta and Martin Brundle. It's like,
I mean, Bono for coming out right from his surgery.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
this, like,
that's a good point. They didn't even talk to Bono.
Yeah, that's true. They should have talked to Bono.
One of the main men on Lewis's team, and
Also, I was annoyed Bono wasn't up for the champagne celebration.
that's true.
Yeah,
too.
He should have
that's
been
true.
up there,
Yeah.
and that's poor on Mercedes for having. You know what happened? Toto was like, "Oh, who are we gonna send?" And in the radio was Toto. It's James, and James said that he's going up to the celebration.
Was it him? I didn't even notice who was up
it
there.
was James did go up.
I mean, he probably went up for Valtteri.
Valtteri, James, I'm coming up.
I'm coming to podium.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about this as much as we crap on Hamilton on this podcast, and it's true. 6 championships. You have to think, and we've said this on podcasts before, that he is 100% one of the greatest of all time to ever be in the sport. And,
sure.
Now that he's just one world championship behind Michael Schumacher, it begs the question: is he the greatest of all time to do this? I know it's tough.
A hard debate.
It is a hard
honestly, it
debate.
is, because like there's so many differences in like what Michael Schumacher did,
Yeah.
what Lewis Hamilton has done with not with Ferrari, with Mercedes. Sorry, so it's just it's a different situation.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think the conversation would be had next year when he does get his 7th, or the year
Call it
afterwards.
already. When he wins 4 in a row.
I jumped on the bandwagon too.
But I think the conversation is going to come in a couple of years when he does win his 7th one, and then he can actually compare himself to Michael Schumacher. I mean, people have been comparing Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton for the past 3 or 4 years.
100%.
It's a big shoes to fill.
Yes, big shoes.
But yeah, he's definitely put himself in one of the best drivers of all time next to Michael Schumacher.
Easy.
Like I think that's what I can say. I can't say he's the greatest driver of all time.
I think a lot of it too is maybe we're not appreciating watching him race right now because we're all sick and tired of him winning.
Yes.
When it's one of those things where we're kind of watching history as it unfolds and watching this true greatness of a driver that is dominating the world's best drivers. He's dominated 3 years in a row now, 4 of the last 5 championships, and or is it 5 of the last?
4 last. Well, Nico
4
did
last
that
5.
one. Yeah.
Nico won the one
Yeah.
in 2016.
But 5 of 6 for Mercedes.
5 of 6
Yeah.
for Mercedes. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable what they've done. and what he's done with Mercedes as well. So I think we have to just sit back and try to appreciate Lewis Hamilton while he's here.
You bring up a good point, and one that I wanted to also talk about was it's not appreciated because of the lopsidedness of this turbo hybrid era.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that'll always be in question. But at the same time, when Schumacher was dominating, Ferrari was dominating. When Vettel was dominating, Red Bull was dominating. And now this is just Mercedes' turn, and who knows whose turn it is next.
It doesn't take away from any of the championships. A championship is a championship.
Yeah.
People are even trying to take one away from Nico Rosberg. It was like, oh, it was reliability. And no, that's not the case.
No,
he won that championship.
Yeah.
Winning a championship, you don't luck into it. You don't just stumble upon it by accident in any sport. So all 6 of his are well-deserved. Yes, he's had the best car with Mercedes, but he's also had to deliver the results. And if it is just up to the car, how come Valtteri hasn't won one yet? How come Rosberg hasn't won more than one?
100%. Well, I think Rosberg, if Rosberg didn't retire, I think we don't see Lewis Hamilton winning 6. I think I think Rosberg takes at least 1 from him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Maybe even 2. Maybe even 2.
Maybe, and that's no shot against Bottas. I think it's just personally, I just think Rosberg is a better driver than Bottas and fit well with the Mercedes crew. And this is not giving Hamilton an easier route, but it's certainly
opened it up for
him to not have that rival and to show his true performance and how he did dominate the rest of the field and how he shows up every race and he's the favorite to win.
We've never seen domination like this from any team. They just set the record 6 straight, clinching both championships. We've never seen that before, so that's why people, and I think us as well, it just doesn't maybe seem as special as it will a couple years from now when he retires, and we're going to look back and go, oh, wow, he finished with 7 or 8 or whatever he's going to finish on. But 6, regardless of the fact, I never thought anybody would get close to Michael's record, and here we are. Lewis was 6, which is crazy. I still remember him only winning a 2nd championship not that long ago, and then he got tied Vettel with the 4th, and then here we are now, 1 away from tying Michael Schumacher's record. So this domination, we're not necessarily sick of seeing Mercedes win. We're just sick of seeing one team dominate this whole era, and we want to see more teams get involved with it. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Red Bull dominating, but when you look at Red Bull's period of domination, 2 of those years, the championship came down to the final race.
Yeah.
And when Vettel won it for the first time in 2010, he was the least likely to win it out of the 4 drivers going for it.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen that with Mercedes. I mean, they had close battles, but it was only with another Mercedes driver. So that's why I think some critics are, I don't want to say taking it away from Lewis, but they're bringing that side of it up, which is fair. Mm-hmm. But I think that at the end of the day, a championship is a championship. And I think that 2018 and 2017 showed that even when you have Ferrari and Vettel, who was another 4-time world champion, Hamilton still beat him.
Yeah.
And I think he still beats him even if they were in the same car. So
I agree.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly talented driver, and he made the best career move, I think, out of any sportsman ever, going to Mercedes.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with Niki Lauda as well. So this is another very special championship for them after Niki Lauda passed away earlier this year. So regardless of the fact, I think that it will take a couple years for it all to settle in. And once he retires, I think we'll be able to appreciate him more because we'll realize, like, wow, he actually was a pretty special driver, regardless of the fact that Mercedes have just cleaned house the last 6 years.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, we'll have to, like you said, in a couple of years, sit down and realize, and we'll look back on this. And it's something we'll tell, for us at our age, in 20 years, our kids about, wow, I used to watch Hamilton win race on race, and it was unbelievable. But, as it stands right now, maybe kind of taking it a little bit for granted. But that's okay. Congratulations to Lewis Hamilton, and congratulations to Valtteri Bottas, who had another fantastic race, who has now clinched his best season as an F1 driver with his 4th win at the United States Grand Prix. Pretty well done for him. Yeah. He had a phenomenal race all throughout and made a fantastic pass on Lewis Hamilton to get the win with about 6 laps to go, 5, somewhere around there.
5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Max racing to get second for the last 5 or 6. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think bittersweet day for him for sure, because obviously you win the race, but then you lose the championship. At the end of the day, though, he does clinch second in the championship, which is his highest finish before, and like you mentioned, the most wins of his career. So I think an interesting year for him, because certainly an amazing year when you look at where he was last year. and he's done really well this year, and he's beat Lewis on a number of occasions this year. But here's the difference, right? What we're talking about just before that was with Hamilton with 6 championships. It's not good enough to just be good at 1 races, 2 races. It's all 21 races. And we talk about Ferrari and Red Bull, the resurgence in summer break, and after that, you look at the stats, Lewis is still leading the championship after the summer break.
Yeah.
The fact that Ferrari's dominated qualifying, they won a couple races, Red Bull before that, still leading the championship.
Yeah.
That's why he's a 6-time world champion, and you don't notice it. And getting back on Hamilton just quickly, you would think of this year, he hasn't really pulled off like that miraculous, last lap overtake for the lead, like maybe Max did, or like nothing jumps out at you necessarily where you're like, oh, I remember that overtake to do this or that. But he's just so solid all the time around. Whereas Valtteri, let's say Germany, for example, where he lost about 21 points to Lewis when he crashed out, that's the difference in the championship.
Yeah.
But I do think that next year he might be a really good challenger for Lewis. He's had this 1 year now.
Well, I sure
we'll
hope
see.
so.
You take away
Someone.
those like 21 points in Germany, and there was also Russia.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like there was one
Hungary.
other Hungary.
He
There was
lost a ton
another
of
race.
points in Hungary.
Maybe another race or two that was taken away from him because of a strategy call or something like that. So he's
Well, there's a couple. He lost a win because of a strategy call.
Hi, James.
Yes. So
Yeah.
you put that in there too.
I think this, if those points weren't taken away from him, I think this championship would have gone to the last race of the season. But I mean, that's a big if,
Yeah,
like
there's-
if
yeah.
so.
No, 100%. I mean, next year, of course, you want it to be again closer and have a nice fight and not have Hamilton win it at either Mexico or United States with 3 races left.
Wishful
but
thinking.
You
That's
got to
key.
have other teams perform here
Yeah.
too. You got to have Red Bull come in and perform, and you have Ferrari come in and perform, and you have to have that team that comes in like what was last year in Force India and Racing Point to grab a podium here and there. There needs to be some sort of balance to make the championship closer for everyone. Everyone needs to pitch in and have a good result here and there for the championship to kind of fold out that way.
Yeah,
true.
it falls on the other teams and not Mercedes. They're not
Well,
going to stop.
And I
You
think
win the first 6 races. Was it 6 or 8?
8.
Oh, 8. You
8.
win the first 8 races of the season and catch everyone napping. Well, sorry, that's on. Kudos to Mercedes, but that's on the other teams for being
Yeah.
caught asleep.
Yeah, 6 straight 1-2 finishes.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that as well. That's where it was all decided, right? And I know Lewis was making a comment, and maybe Valtteri too, that on the outside it looks easy, but it was difficult from the inside. And I understand what he's saying because it always looks easy on the outside. We just see them spraying champagne and winning races. But 2019 was their easiest championship by far.
for sure.
That's for sure. I think statistically when you look at it, but otherwise too, like the other teams were just nowhere. And
Yeah.
even like I mentioned with the resurgence of Ferrari, Red Bull, they're still nowhere. We saw
No.
Ferrari at this race.
And I think we saw little like glimmers of what Ferrari and Red Bull can hope to gain for next year, but we never saw a consistent streak of them carrying it
No.
on. I think
That's a
Red
good
Bull
point.
would have like 2 or 3 races here and there, then Ferrari would have 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And in the end, it would always come back to Mercedes getting that podium finish to secure those points that they needed for the championship.
No, that's a really good point, Shaker, because we saw it this race
Yeah.
where Ferrari has been fantastic the last few races, and I don't know what happened to them. They were fantastic on
Ka-chow.
Saturday. A ka-chow happened, that's for sure. They were god awful in this race. I mean, nowhere even close. A second and a
I
lap
think
slower.
Charles Leclerc was almost 40 seconds behind,
Yeah.
3rd place at one point. So it just, I don't know what happened to them. Maybe it was because he was
Red Bull
avoiding
knows.
turn 8.
Did they both screw up that? Like, did is their setup awful? Did they screw up their setup that bad that they was
Well-
non-reversible?
Well,
I think after Vettel went out, I think they just asked Charles Leclerc to take it a little bit easier on turn 8. And I think,
Well, you can't lose a second on a turn.
no, but I
you
think
could, but
they had to change their setup around with that as
Yeah.
well to kind of make it work a little bit more for them. Because, like Vettel just wasn't there since the beginning of the race at all.
the rumor going around, or the shit talking actually going around the paddock, is that the FIA started this directive on the Ferrari engine, kind of led by Red Bull, because Red Bull was complaining about it. And Red Bull and Verstappen said this as well. They seem to think that that's why, because they asked Max, they're like, what happened to Ferrari? And he's like, that's what happens when you stop cheating. That's what he said. But I think that it's not the engine, because when you look at the GPS traces as well, Ferrari were still, I think, up like 2-3 tenths.
It's not
on
the
straights.
It was their aero setup.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Vettel and Leclerc were both massively understeering. Thanks. Brain fart. Massively understeering throughout pretty much every single corner,
Yeah.
and they couldn't fix that.
Well, they took
It had
more.
no grip whatsoever on their tires at all.
The front end wouldn't bite at all, and we've seen that be a problem with Ferrari in years before, where their front end
not
can't
even
bite.
years, just beginning of this year, Vettel struggled, for the first 6 races. So
Yeah, they put more downforce on actually after FP2 to go more into the race setup, but. Just look at qualifying. They were 100ths of a second off Valtteri, so it wasn't the engine. It's not the engine issue. The pace was still there, but the circuit of the Americas, it is still an aerodynamically sensitive circuit. You have the 2-3 straights maybe, but the rest are all aero performance corners.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what happened, but it really was from even the race start. There's something wrong with Vettel right on the race start. And I don't know if it was maybe
tires not warmed up, both of them, or
but even the suspension. I think the suspension had broke maybe in qualifying or even on the formation lap going to the grid or the practice laps before the grid because every other driver was taking the same line and nobody else had a suspension issue. So that was very strange because drivers all weekend were going out on turn 8 and 9 and taking the liberties out there.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that had that massive failure. So I think a failure somewhere, maybe they lowered the ride height. I don't know what happened, but...
Well, who was it? One of the teams, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, and I'm going to pinch myself for not thinking of it, but said they raised the ride height just for this race. They knew it was going to be bad, so they raised that ride height a bunch.
Might have been McLaren, I think, when Zach Brown was talking.
Yeah, Zach Brown was talking. Yeah. You're right, it was McLaren. And we saw how, they had a great race, McLaren in general, but they needed that extra little ride, even if it hurt their car performance a little bit. I mean, the ride height was crucial in this race to at least get through the bumps of the circuit.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
I mean, you saw Lando Norris in Q1 had the fastest lap over everyone. So I don't know if they had that set up in Q1 as well, but I mean...
They would have to, park fairway.
Yeah, for sure. And then, Lando had an amazing qualifying all the way through. Had a really good race. I mean, not amazing, but, he did the best he could.
No, it was good. To be top of a program is very impressive.
Yeah, especially a qualifying one.
He's the youngest driver on the grid, turning 19 next week.
20.
20?
Yeah, he's out of his teens.
Last race as a teenager. Heard 19. Last race as a teenager.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, still a young boy. But I don't think that it's necessarily this engine directive and stuff like that. But I think for Ferrari, you hope that they don't find your engine illegal because if you've been running an illegal engine all year and you're still this far behind, what else do you have to do, man?
What penalties would they get? Would Williams finish ahead of them?
I don't know.
Would they get docked all their points?
Yeah, I was going to say, would
Williams
all their
has
points be taken away?
It's confusing though because it depends on when they brought the upgrade, right? Because and here's the other thing too that people have thought of is Leclerc was on a Spec 2 engine because of his issue earlier in qualifying, was it? Or
qualifying.
Practice? Practice.
No, practice 3, right.
Yeah. So he was running an older engine, and the GPS overlay shows that the top speed was still there. It wasn't like crazy as it was in Mexico, but again, top line speed in Austin isn't necessarily the same as it would be in Mexico because, you have a long straight, but it's not as important as it is in other tracks.
Yeah.
So I don't think that anything is going to come of that anyways. But the FIA, they don't want to reveal exactly because if it is legal, then you don't want to tell the other teams what they're doing because then it's a disadvantage to Ferrari.
Yeah.
And they want to keep that advantage. But Mattia Binotto was pretty pissed because he went to talk to Christian Horner.
Oh, yeah.
And he told him very sternly, he's like, we could do some legal action against you guys for the comments that you're making because it's just accusation at this point. There's nothing, kind of evidence-based. And, what do they call that? In the legal term, libel?
Libel, yeah.
When you just kind of, or defamation would be, I guess, the other one.
I mean, but in the sport, you're always trying to find that little advantage, that kind of sweet spot where rules and what's legal, what's not legal. We saw it with Renault a couple weeks ago with their brake bias. We saw it with Alfa Romeo earlier this year with their front wing and the flex on their front wing. It happens every team does it.
Yeah, they try it.
It's just, can you get caught?
Yeah.
Do you get caught with it? It's one of those things.
It's kind of a Red Bull thing, though, for them to always kind of complain and try to lead these protests. I think that maybe they should just focus a little bit more on their own car and their own performances. Because we'll get a little bit more into that in our season review, but I think that Red Bull, to me, has been the most disappointing team this season.
I disagree with that.
They've been really disappointing.
Not just based on like just Red Bull. The fact that, let's say if you were playing, if you were a driver, or you were leading a team, and you find out that you're the only one not cheating and everybody else is, how is that a fair advantage to you? Should you also start cheating, or should you complain on the other teams?
No, I would agree if it is found that they're cheating.
Yeah.
But if they're not found that they're cheating and then they're just whining and complaining, then that's how it is. I guess that's the nature of Formula One, because if somebody... But here's the thing, too, is like nobody really complained about Mercedes, right? And Mercedes has been dominating like crazy.
Yeah.
So if you think anybody's doing anything illegal, it'd be Mercedes, because they're just so good everywhere.
Everyone just knows they're good. You have to cheat to beat Mercedes.
maybe people have tried and they just can't find anything.
Yeah, it's weird, but I mean, we'll see what happens. But I would find it hilarious if it was found that it was illegal this whole time, and yet they still suck that bad.
Yeah, that would not be ideal for Ferrari.
And
would they take a giant penalty going into 2021 then, or would it just be
probably just the season?
Yeah, it'd just be the season, I think, or they get fined or something. Like they would do something like that.
And when we were talking about this, I think Shaker, you said that you're thinking that Mercedes will win next year as well. I agree. I think they're doing 7 in a row. Next year.
So do I.
Yeah, what's stopping them? There's
exactly.
No
there's nobody.
We'll see how next year's what do they call testing goes.
Winter testing.
Winter testing.
No predictions, please.
But winter. We saw what happened with winter testing this year, and clearly that didn't transition into what was true. So,
and Ferrari, I think even if they have the best car, they're still going to lose.
I think Mercedes just has the best engineers on the grid.
They have the best everything.
Yeah,
they're too strong. The only way they're going to get beaten is if they beat themselves.
They put a salary cap in. We'll get to that in another video.
Yeah. Well, even that though, still, I mean, they're still going to have those really good employees.
Yeah.
No, I know. It doesn't really work that well. But like it works, it doesn't work. We'll get into it we're going to do a video with the 2021 regulations. So make sure you stay tuned for that on the channel. All of us have lots of thoughts on the new rules package for 2021 and are very excited to talk about it and what the future for F1 brings. So make sure you keep an eye out on the channel for that video that will be coming out shortly.
Sometime within the
next week or so.
Yeah.
We wanted to save more for the US Grand Prix.
Yeah, about the Grand Prix. We'll get back to the Grand Prix.
I told you not much happened.
No, it is banter about a lot of other things. In the middle of the Grand Prix, nothing really happened. So we can just kind of scratch out the 40 laps in between the start and finish. Let's talk about
Raikkonen.
Okay. Yes, we can talk about
Had a great start.
You did have a great start.
P18 to P9, P10 within the first 3 or 4 laps.
Didn't get points though, unfortunately.
No, did not get points.
But another nice race from the Iceman. Coming off the victory.
Yeah.
At US last year.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad to see him so far down the grid after winning last year, but he likes the track.
No, he did really well for what he could. Did he take? He did not take an engine penalty. He just
no, right?
He
just had a bad qualifying. Alpha just wasn't good at qualifying. They've toned down
2 races or so, 2 or 3 races. I want to say.
Yeah, Alpha hasn't been that great. I think the best drive of the day. Well, I guess this is up for debate. There's a couple drivers who I thought had really good drives. First one would have to be Sergio Perez. I think he stands out the most in terms of positions gained. In terms of where he started. Yes, it's better. Yeah, okay. I knew we were going with that because I'm going to that next. But Perez, starting from the pit lane, finishes P10. A fantastic race from the Mexican, coming off great momentum from the Mexican Grand Prix. Shows up the US Grand Prix and has passes nice passes, a really nice overtake on Giovinazzi, which was fantastic driving from both those guys. And Racing Point get a point in this race. Huh. Nailed it.
Who was the one that you're thinking of? Shaker?
Alex Albon.
Yes.
Alex
Albon.
Okay. Yes.
For in terms of position gained.
Yeah, because he
dropped down to 20th and after the first lap or something. Yeah. And then what came with P5? P5.
Well, I'll throw another name in there though because he was my driver of the day. It was Daniel Ricciardo.
And that was the next one I was going to mention. Yes, Daniel Ricciardo. Another fantastic race. He's really been on the fire the last 5 or so races.
I think 6.
6. Like he's
Since
been
Italy?
really good.
Since
Italy, yeah, I think so. Well, and he did break into our top 10 rankings of our power rankings last week. Stay tuned to see if he'll be there this week. But he's done really, really well. And we've been wanting to put him in our list for a long, long time.
Yeah.
It's just everyone has been outperforming him.
Right,
Like-
and the car just hasn't been there.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
we're seeing the shades of the old Ricciardo breaking late. Beautiful overtakes the last couple races, under control. You know,
I think commentator said best. He's like, that just looked really easy, and I think
Yeah.
that's what he does best. He does make something difficult look so easy.
I think Danny Rick is back, which is nice to see. Now he just needs the car to be with him.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've always said since Daniel Ricciardo started in F1, I know our podcast wasn't around for this, so it's not on video, but that he's going to be a world champion one day. And I still believe that he's going to be a world champion one day.
wow, you still believe it?
I still believe it. 100%. I think he's one of the best drivers on the grid.
With Renault?
With Renault,
I'm just saying he's a world champion.
Yeah, I was
one day.
gonna say.
That's all I'm saying.
Skeptical hippo eyes.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Just where? Okay, I don't want to get too into it. Where would he end up to get that world
Ferrari.
championship? I just don't see him going there.
I do, 100%.
Vettel's going to be there for the next 3 or 4 years. Charles Leclerc's pretty much there for life.
Yeah, he is.
Lifetime contract.
Yeah. I don't know.
Mercedes?
I don't think he goes to Mercedes.
It's hard. It's a hard call. I personally think if anyone's going to end up at Mercedes, after
I think
if or when Valtteri gets the boot, unfortunately, I think that's what's going to end up happening. It's not going to be up to his own decision. I think it's going to be Verstappen.
I
Agree with you there.
Yeah.
I agree as well. I think that he spends the 2021 season with Renault.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think is he under contract for that season?
Yeah.
I believe
Anyways,
so.
For the
Yeah.
first year.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years,
for
I
the
think.
first year, I think.
2020 and 2021,
And I
believe.
think if it all depends on that, everything's going to depend on that 2021 season. Next year doesn't matter. It's a 2021 season where Renault will have to come out with some sort of godly car that can challenge. I mean, we always see these shakeups when these rules changes happen. We saw it with Mercedes, who never won a world championship,
Well,
and now they won 6 in a row.
you saw it with Renault in 2005.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They've done it once.
So if this rules package, who knows? Alpha could be the next unbelievable team. We don't know.
Slow down.
Yeah. Let's
Easy.
Little
I know
realistic.
you've been up a while today. Just put the Ricciardo brakes on here.
But you never know what could happen these rule changes. So if Renault have a strong 2021 season, then Ricciardo would stay. It all depends on that season. We'll see. I still think he's a world champion.
I think he.
Agree with me down in the comments below.
I think. Yeah, I think within the next 3-4 years, if it doesn't happen for him, I don't think it's gonna happen at all. Because he's what, mid-30s now, 34, 35 at this
I don't think
point?
he's that old.
30, I think.
I thought he was
30?
young. I
Really?
thought he was
Oh,
young
I thought
30s.
he was old. I thought he was older than
No, I
Vettel.
thought he was early 30s.
Oh, I'm probably wrong. You guys probably.
No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's 30 on the nose.
30.
Okay.
Just turned
Okay.
30 on July 1st.
I thought he was a little bit
So he's
older.
got another. If you wanted 8 to 10, if you wanted to stick full on.
The thing is,
Kimi
he
Räikkönen's
doesn't.
40, yeah.
Yeah, I know
wants-
he doesn't. You're right.
He wants to retire fairly early.
Yeah.
That could change, though, because he does want to be a world champion.
Yeah.
But for sure, like you said, we've seen it with Kimi, right? He can race into his 40s.
Yeah.
But if he wants to retire 34, 35, that only really gives him
5 years.
not even necessarily, because
Yeah.
2020 we can kind of forget about for Renault. So there goes another year. So he's got 4 years with 2021 starting from there. Possibly could happen.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kimi, is he coming back next year?
Yes.
Yes. Confirmed.
With Alpha rate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he signed a 2-year deal, I believe.
Okay.
Last
And
year.
I guess because we're on that topic, Antonio Giovinazzi was
Yes.
also confirmed
yeah,
today.
I knew that was confirmed, but I couldn't remember if Kimi was.
Yeah.
Claps
So,
to Giovinazzi.
congratulations to him.
Yeah, getting paid.
Commiserations to Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah,
So I
that
think
sucks.
that's it.
That was going to screw his seat. But Giovinazzi didn't have a great start to the season, and I didn't think he was going to get a seat for next year. But
I personally didn't think he would either.
He proved me wrong the second half of the season
Yeah.
because he had a great second half of the season. That's what got him the contract.
Yeah, Ferrari kind of they put their hand on that and said we'd like to keep him.
Yeah.
It wasn't much of an Alfa Romeo decision. So,
I mean, I guess that's almost every seat secure for next year, except for Racing Points and Williams.
Williams missing
Racing
one.
points secured.
Racing points secured.
Lance Stroll's confirmed.
I know that was a big
yes.
mystery, but
Lance Stroll is confirmed.
Okay.
I had to do some digging there to see if I could.
This was a big concern of mine because I really wanted to
I
know.
could tell. I know you. Every day you're coming in like, is Lance Stroll confirmed, guys?
I
McLaren's
just wanted it to become a meme. That's what I wanted.
Toro Rosso is not confirmed for next year.
Yeah, it's true, eh? Or
And
the
so
second,
is the
and
second Red Bull
seat. I feel
Yeah.
like they have.
I feel like Albon should have that.
Yeah, but like,
But
here's-
you never know, because this is what could happen here. And hear me out on this. And it's just drama that would have this seat. Is Red Bull go, hey, you took our guy and paid him. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna turn Nico Hulkenberg into a race winner and put him into the Red Bull seat for a year and just give a big FU to Renault.
I think
Just a big FU. And then Kvyat would slide out and you'd have Albon and Gasly as the Toro Rosso drivers.
Oh, ouch. Kvyat, poor guy.
Poor guy. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
but I think that's what... personally, if Nico Hulkenberg is going to get a seat, that's how the seat's going to happen.
I hope you're
I
right.
think that's the only way, really, unless he goes to Williams. But
No, I don't
Yeah.
think he will. I
don't
don't. I
have the
think
money either.
Hulkenberg...
you guys said Latifi's pretty much coming in next year.
Yeah.
right?
90%.
And I think Hulkenberg would actually not race for Williams.
Yeah.
I think he would say no. I think he'd rather
Oh,
be-
I think, what's the point?
Yeah.
I think he's joining.
You're just going to ruin your reputation.
I think he's joining his old teammate in IndyCar.
Doesn't want to do ovals.
I don't think he goes
No.
to ovals.
Yeah,
It's
Chris Medlin said McLaren offered him the seat
Yeah.
in
Oh.
IndyCar. He just didn't want to do ovals.
I don't blame him. You see some of the accidents happen.
Crazy, I know.
I don't blame him for not doing ovals. He actually has a brain on his head. Honestly, I like crazy oval drivers and IndyCar drivers.
They are.
I have so much respect for them.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
Jesus, look at Robert Wickens.
Yes, a lot of you can say that for a lot of drivers.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where
Yeah,
Nico
it's true.
Hulkenberg goes.
I hope you're right because
I hope so, too.
When I said I was really disappointed with Red Bull, this is why too, and it's not a knock on Albon or Gasly. They're very good, young, talented
yeah.
drivers.
For sure.
But the problem with Red Bull is that they do not have a second driver that's capable of winning races or fighting for the championship right now, and that's a problem because they're a big team. When they had Ricciardo and Verstappen were both capable of fighting for the championship, and if Red Bull want to battle Mercedes and Ferrari, they're not going to be able to do it with one of the young guys in the seat right now.
Yeah.
So I think that Hulkenberg, even though he hasn't been on the podium in his career, he hasn't also had the car. So I think that Hulkenberg would be better because he's more experienced. He's been through everything pretty much in Formula One, and he'd finally get the opportunity. But I know that they don't want to go outside of the Red Bull program, but I think that for Max, that would be a really, really good teammate.
It would. I think so. I don't know. I think you'd test run it for 1 year. Sign a 1 year contract. See how it goes. For Hulkenberg, hopefully you get a race win and end with have your season or have your career with a race
Finally,
win.
your moment.
Oh, I would. Oh, I want to see that happen so bad for him, so bad. I can picture him with a Red Bull lifting the trophy.
I just don't see Nico Hulkenberg in blue.
Doesn't look good in blue.
Good blue.
Doesn't look good in blue.
I hope they do it. You never know. Red Bull is. They say one thing, they could do the other.
Yeah.
Albon is looking very likely for the seat.
I feel like if with Thailand coming in next year as well, they kind of want to have a second home
It's
driver.
Vietnam,
Vietnam. Oh my god, I fucked it
not
up.
Thailand.
I'm so sorry.
Vietnam.
I
Yes,
don't know why
not
I was thinking
Thailand.
of Thailand.
It's okay. They're kind of similar.
They're close, I
both
believe.
small islands.
They're both in Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Well, I take that back.
That's all right. That's all right. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's a shame that he doesn't have a seat for next year.
No, I
regardless of what you think of Hulkenberg, whether you think he's overrated, underrated, whatever. But I think he deserves a seat in Formula One nonetheless. But
So I was thinking of this earlier. Since like Lewis Hamilton is pretty much secured, he has a championship. Mercedes has their title. Do you think they're gonna give what's his name a chance in the seat?
no, definitely not.
No, You don't
Because
think
he's
so?
at Renault next year, they're not going to let him touch that car.
No,
now.
yeah, he's not going to be in that car.
Oh, okay.
They probably don't even let him use the facilities anymore.
Well, isn't he still with the team on
Probably.
race days?
But I'm sure that they've
Yeah,
closed
he's just-
off a lot of his access.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Eh?
As he's bringing parts in his bag to
Yeah.
Renault next year. I got their front wing for next year.
He's doing like
I
taking
stole the
photos.
wheel!
Yeah. Start the car. He's going all into France.
He's like plugging USBs into the laptop. So Esteban, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, nothing. Yeah.
I'm not being paid extra for this. What?
I'm pretty pumped to see Esteban back on the grid next year. I'm really excited to
Me too.
to have him back. He's a lovely person, great race car driver. Always adds some drama. It'll be great. Stolen from Mercedes. Renault's trying to steal everyone. They're stealing from Red Bull. They steal from the rich and they give to the poor.
They've got
But
some
they are the
key-
poor, which is not.
Yeah, they
so
are.
it's not-
Well,
I don't think
Company
they're
isn't,
poor.
yeah, the company is. No, the company is.
their performances
Their performance
are
is
pretty
poor
yeah.
is what I was trying to go for.
They've got some key personnel coming back though, which is a good sign for them. So, doesn't-
Is what's his face the head technical director?
Pat Simmons,
No,
the other one, I forget his name.
real French guy.
Yeah,
Is he back next year? Because I thought his job might be on the line today, or not today, but this year.
Oh, you mean
their
their
performance.
team manager?
Yes.
Abitbull?
Yes,
Cyril?
Cyril. Yes, thank you.
I haven't heard anything yet. I believe
No,
he's
I
still
don't
there
think-
for
yeah,
next
is he?
year.
I believe so.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
I think
He's
he
on the
was
hot
one of the
seat.
people that convinced Renault to go back into F1. I think that
Is
he
it?
was.
Is
Yeah,
it?
I think he was one of the main causes.
Oh, he's
for
costing them a
come
lot of
back to
money right
F1.
now.
He is.
Yeah.
So is Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
is Daniel Ricciardo. Good for Daniel.
But I mean,
get paid, buddy.
It's not his fault. But
Get him.
Get paid.
Hook him, Daniel.
What else from this race? Was that it?
I think that's really it. I mean, like I said, the race was fairly dull. The big story obviously was the championship being
Yeah.
clinched, and it was a big celebration going on there. So
also pure class from Vettel to go into
Yes.
into the cooling room afterwards.
How great was
I
that?
love Vettel.
You know,
a
didn't
good
want
guy.
to take away from his win while he was doing the interviews. Went into the cooling room to
What a-
congratulate him and everything.
What a
Yeah.
good guy.
and what about that awkward fist bump with
I don't know
Valtteri?
what that was.
He's like,
He went for
"Stop."
the handshake, and then Valtteri. No, sorry. Seb went for the fist bump. Valtteri put his hand out, and then Seb had to play it where he's like, "No, we have to stay with the handshake." So he didn't go so they didn't reverse, and then it just went really awkward. So and then they just kind of did
They had that weird office moment,
Yeah, it's-
Yeah.
with your boss.
Yeah.
You're like, he wants to be cool with you, so
Yeah.
he'll give you the fist bump, and you go with the
It's what do you expect of the two dads trying to be cool?
yeah, seriously.
That's exactly what it was.
Old school guys too,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
But I thought it was great, and it's interesting too. I don't know if you noticed, Valtteri was sitting down when Vettel came in, and you saw he went to congratulate Hamilton, and then Valtteri gets up and then congratulates Hamilton again as well. So it kind of shows the Vettel leading by example, and Valtteri kind of being like, "Oh shit, maybe I should
So yeah,
kind of be
Yeah,
a little bit more
I
sportsmanlike."
should be more of a teammate here.
right.
I mean, I did just win the race, but fine, I guess.
Yeah, but
I guess it's about him, but it's cool.
I'm glad you brought it up because it's a big shout out for Vettel.
Yeah.
That's the third year in a row. I guess 2017, 2018 was the direct competitor to Hamilton. Lost it both times and was a great sport about it. And he didn't have to stick around. I mean,
No, I didn't
yeah,
know. He
what-
could have been
sure.
out of there.
He
If
had
it
a
was,
DNF
if it was
win.
Alonso, he would have been gone. Long gone.
seriously. But yeah, good for him, man. So let us know what you think of Lewis Hamilton and his stature among the F1's greatest.
I have
I know.
a comment.
Sure.
You know how we were talking about Pirelli tires last week, and they're saying the data that F1 puts up isn't reliable?
Oh, yes.
They also said their tires would last 45 to 50
Yeah,
laps
they-
this season. Lasted 20.
Yeah.
20.
Their tire graphic was super inaccurate, though. this
I know it
weekend.
was inaccurate this
It
time
was
around
bad.
for sure, but Pirelli is inaccurate as well.
It's a toss 'em up. Yeah.
You're supposed to be the manufacturer of tires. You're supposed to be able to presume how long your tires are going to last. And I get it, different setups and everything, but less than half than what they said it would last for.
Yeah. That wasn't well done by Pirelli. But whatever, it had some drama to the race, I think.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
fine. I liked a little bit of what's going to happen.
We needed some in this
Yeah,
race,
we
that's
did,
for
yeah.
sure. But I think that about does it for
I think so,
Austin,
too.
Texas.
We will have our power rankings coming up later this week, along with, again, our 2021 regulations reaction.
Yeah, I'm excited
And
for that.
thoughts on that. It's going to be talking points in there. So make sure you stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And
And to stay tuned, you can subscribe to us and make sure you get every notification on when we upload so you're right on top of the news.
yeah, you got to hit the bell because some people were actually some friends that follow our channel were saying they weren't getting any of our videos and stuff. So
Hit the bell so
hit
you
the
do.
bell. That's absolutely right. Only 2 more races to go, folks. After this one, we got Brazil and Abu Dhabi, and then that's it. We're done.
Done
for 2019.
I'm really excited for the Brazil race.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's the one I've been looking forward to for the later
I love
half of the
Interlagos.
season. So.
Yeah, we might need to have a little rematch there with for the BMF title between Verstappen and Ocon
Yes.
in Brazil.
Hopefully he makes the trip,
Yeah.
Ocon.
I mean, there's always exciting stuff with Verstappen in Brazil. You know,
Yeah,
that
that's
really
true.
wet race, the
That'd be
Ocon
nice.
incident. So
I think we
We'll
got to
see.
do a fun little video for that. Maybe we'll.
we might have
do
a
some
fun
racing.
video coming out for Brazil. So stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah, championship is over. Let's just have some fun now.
Yeah.
yeah,
We've been so serious all season.
Reverse grid
And-
for Brazil. Confirmed.
George Russell to replace Valtteri Bottas in the next race. And yeah. All right. Well, let us know all your comments, what you thought of the 2019 US Grand Prix. And like we said, do you think Lewis Hamilton will be able to beat Michael Schumacher's record? I don't know if we got answers from you guys. Do you think that he'll beat
Yes.
number 7?
yes, absolutely,
Yep.
yes.
I think
he'll
Sorry.
definitely tie it, and I think in 2021, if everything goes really well for Mercedes and they continue on their trend, I think he will get his 8th one then,
7.
or the year afterwards.
Do you think he finishes with 7?
He wins
I
next
think
year
he-
and 2021. Here's a huge kind of woo.
I think he wins in 2022 for his 8th one.
Whoa.
Wow. What's that, 8
That's
years in a row?
Really?
I don't think he wins
No, He
2021.
doesn't think he wins
Oh, he
2021.
doesn't
I
think.
don't
Okay,
think he
got
wins
you.
2021. I think he wins.
Shaker.
tomorrow-
He
next
wins the
year.
next 30 years. He's going to race till he's 65.
You might as well.
The way it's going now, it feels like it. All right, that's interesting. But let us know what you think. And who is the GOAT? Is it Hamilton already? Is it still Michael, or is it somebody else? Is it Ayrton Senna? Who knows? Let us know in the comments below.
Fair point.
Yeah, there's a lot, right?
There's a lot. Yeah.
It's an endless
I
debate that you
know.
can have that
Yeah, I
will
know.
never ever be settled.
No, it won't be. You're right.
Although I would be interested to talk to people that have raced both against Michael and Lewis, because they would be able to give you a technical explanation.
Why don't you just...
Yeah, don't ask Kimmy.
Just ask Kimmy.
Kimmy, what you think of
Well, they both good.
Congratulations, I guess. Good job.
walks away?
Oh,
Don't get
Kimmy.
many words
Don't
from him.
change, Kimmy. Don't
No,
change.
I don't know if you guys watched the F1 video, the video that F1 posted about drivers' reactions to Lewis Hamilton winning. The Finn reactions were definitely the
They're
best.
very good.
Short.
Short
and sweet.
Short and sweet. Right to the
Not
point.
really that sweet, but short.
I love it.
The
Love
Finns.
the Finns. They're all great. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us again. Like we mentioned, only 2 more to go. So we're going to try and enjoy the last couple episodes that we have coming to you. And then a big push again for 2020. But anyways, a great video is coming up this week. So stay tuned with us and have a good week.